market correction is in the cards right now. We'll break it down for you guys today, taking a look at Bitcoin, and we are going to have a whole slew of altcoins today. So you definitely want to stick around for this one. We'll do some trading, some analysis with one of our favorite traders. It's going to be a good one. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back into TechPath. Joining me today, of course, is none other than Mr. Tim Warren, coming over from Investing Broz. How are you, Tim?
Doing good, Paul. Good to be back on again, and enjoying the market dips at the moment. Trying to buy up more and more coins. So some people look at dips as a bad thing. I'm one of the people who says this is a good day.
I like it. Well, listen, we're sitting on a market cap right now of 2.35 trillion, and a little bit of up and down over the week on Bitcoin. On the 7-day, we're sitting at about 1% down, 24, 1.7 down. ETH kind of in the same position, but a little bit up on the 7-day. Not too bad. Let's jump into Bitcoin real quick and just take a look at the current chart, because many people have been pointing towards 70. And then you have the naysayers that are pointing towards 60. Which way do you think the pendulum swings for Bitcoin right now?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll go ahead and share my screen here. If you guys are talking about which one of I think happens first, 60 or 70, I think that's what you said. I'm going to go in the camp of 60. I've been saying now for a couple of days over on Investing Bros channel, 60K looks to be in the cards here. There's a couple different things going on as to why I think that's happening. The first one, actually, before I show Lux Algo, I will show Lux Algo, but just, you guys can see here with some trend lines going on, we've kind of entered into a little bit of a small declining channel. Now, this is actually bullish long term. These channels more often not break to the upside, but you will see the support seems to be falling, but so does the resistance. On another chart, I kind of prefaced the Investing Bros community for historically, when you go and look at what happens post halvings, you're looking at 3 to 5 months of sideways, more boring action. I mean, the halving events just talked about with such positivity, as if the price is supposed to take off right after. Well, it is a bullish event, but a lot of times boringness happens. And I kind of have the majority of price action in the next 3 to 4 months. Would not be surprised to see us stay below 71, 72, maybe 1 wick down to 55 or so, but for the most part, probably stay above 60. But that goes back over to our shorter timelines now. We're going to we're staying on the 4-hour chart, and I'll show you the daily one as well. As a whole, Lux Algo printed a sell order here just at the top, kind of called that one perfectly, hit an order block, has take profit and another order block coming in again at 60,000, where we just were a couple of days ago. This pink bar right here is what we would call a breaker block. So you guys might have heard of order blocks before, which is levels of high liquidity where the price likes to get attached to, so buyers and sellers take it out there. Well, the colors change on Lux Algo when you break through an order block and don't stop and find the support there. You kind of cut through it. And in this case, the pink breaker blocks are levels of resistance, and that does look like it's in play right now. So we broke through it here a couple of days ago instead of bouncing. So now that it kind of told you we could bounce back up into this level and expect a rejection right there. I think the hourly chart had that as well. Let me take a look at that one. We actually didn't even make it back up to the hourly chart breaker block. But you guys can see here, hourly chart predicting at least down here to 62. 4-hour chart is calling, again, high end 61, but that middle order block coming in around 60,000. Then you go all the way out to the daily chart. And this one is kind of saying, guys, we could hit 59, if not even lower, down towards that 55 as well. So I'm going to kind of call it right now. I think there's a lot of support. I think there's a lot of people that will see a $60,000 Bitcoin and, just like a couple of days ago, gobble it up some more. I'm not too worried at this point about a bigger drop below that, unless we see the bears pick up strength. So as we get to the 60,000, you guys can see the last time we did it, the volume didn't really pick up, right? So that was a good indication of this was probably going to be a good buy spot. If the volume picks up during the downward movement, then I will have concerns, because that shows the bears really roaring their heads and feeling confident about a stronger move to the downside.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So a couple of things I think with Bitcoin. Obviously, we've seen a little bit of pressure, but we do have something that is brewing, and of course we'll talk about that in a second, and that's the Hong Kong ETFs that play out into the market. Other news kind of hitting ETH this week, Consensus now, MetaMask, suing the SEC over Ethereum regulation, talking about stifling innovation, going all that direction. How much of an effect do you feel the regulatory environment right now versus what we could see as an ETH ETF hitting in Hong Kong, which we will see, is going to have on Ethereum. Ethereum is slightly up on the week, but pretty much flat. What is it looking like for you?
Yeah, well, when it comes to the Hong Kong news, and I'll share my screen here in a second, I put a tweet out about this one where when you look at the numbers of the money in Hong Kong versus US, it's pennies to the dollar. So I told my audience, is this a bullish thing long term that we're getting more ETFs? Absolutely. But if people are expecting a massive inflow and price actually go kaboom to the upside based off of Hong Kong, that's not really probably going to do it. What I like, though, as far as the other ETF news that we've gotten here recently, when we go look at the charts, so we're hearing this rumor, more than likely the SEC is going to deny the Ethereum ETF. And yet price action didn't really respond to it. Like if that was really bearish, we would see more blue candles. The price would be a lot lower. We probably already would be back down to 2,800. And yet we didn't. We kind of saw Ethereum just kind of stay with the rest of the crypto market, which to me communicates that news doesn't affect buyers whatsoever. They're still just as bullish on Ethereum as they were long term because no one went and sold it based off that news. We also know, of course, the SEC has been getting their butts handed to them in court as of late. So I think this is just another opportunity for them to get sued and lose once again for abusing their power. When it comes to Ethereum price, though, I think both stories were kind of price nothing burgers. You'll see on Ethereum, before I even pull up Luxalgo, same as Bitcoin, we have a descending channel right here. This one's more aggressive to the downside, though. Yeah. So this is where I think we could see a new low during this trend on Ethereum. I think there's a chance we do come down and touch lower levels, like towards 2,700 or so. But again, because it's going down, these channels more often than not, when they eventually break to the upside. So I'm still bullish on Ethereum long term. A chart, I know we're talking about Ethereum right now, and I'll show you more, but a chart that we have been watching on the Broz, and I think I mentioned this here a couple of weeks ago when I was here, is the dominance chart. And this one on the weekly chart has an ascending triangle. These are bullish, break to the upside. Our target is 60%. I think right now we're making a move back down to this support level, somewhere around 54.17%. But I think that it bounces back up. And when you take a look at those charts, remember, you got Bitcoin. Let's go back to the 4-hour chart so it's clear here. Bitcoin, a very slight, almost sideways, but slight downward channel versus Ethereum's, it's going down a lot steeper. This makes sense as to why during this period, Bitcoin is more sideways than down, and Ethereum's going to take a little bit more of a downward approach. Same with altcoins. That would explain why the Bitcoin dominance is going to go up. But again, when we hit that level, there will be an altcoin season like there always is where Bitcoin dominance falls off a cliff. Ethereum goes crazy. Altcoins go crazy. For now, some targets I'm keeping my eye on. Right now, same as Bitcoin, we have that breaker block kind of showing us some resistance right here. We have a decent case scenario for 3,000 to come in as some form of support. We have an order block a little higher than that, but our kind of more conservative take profit is at that level. But you're seeing the 4-hour give us a lower target down here towards 2,800. Same daily chart, you're seeing a lot lower here. Again, best case scenario, 29. It does show us a level down below 2,700. I'm keeping an eye on those levels for sure. What I don't like also is we had started to see oscillators, and you see it actually more profoundly on the Bitcoin chart, but we started to see some positivity on the money flow, on everything else, and yet we're keeling over, we're turning bearish here on a lot of our oscillators. You guys see the MACD had a bullish cross, kind of balanced out now. It looks like it wants to go ahead and flip back down south. We're back overextended on our stochastics RSI. We rejected on the 50 RSI. These are all things, Paul, that are kind of saying that Ethereum should be moving to the downside stronger. It's a better case here on the 4-hour chart where everything is going south. So I think I told you right before we went live, I can kind of tell you guys with a lot of the coins, we can look at targets, but I think a lot of altcoins are going to be bleeding here in the next week or two, going down to at least double bottom at some lows we were just at, if not set some newer lows on this particular bear trend. Not predicting any new lows. I don't think Ethereum's dropping back down, below $1,000 or anything like that. But I think revisiting mid $2,000 levels could be in the cards for Ethereum.
Well, the interesting thing is, and we mentioned this earlier in the week, is that our sentiment data was ironically pushing Ethereum down pretty heavily. And it was like almost the fourth week in a row that we had seen some downward trends on ETH, and it wasn't necessarily slowing down. So definitely, if you guys are following our MSI over on PBN, That's our sentiment indicator. We track about 50 tokens over there on sentiment. I want to go over to a clip real quick. This is the one of the officials around the Hong Kong ETFs. He had some interesting things to say. Let me play this for you.
Do you think that we're going to see the same price action we saw back in January when the US ETFs were approved?
But for the managers to spend so much time and money on a new product, they see an upside. They see demand for the product. So unless the managers at least took a semi-optimistic view as a basic minimum criteria, they wouldn't be doing the products. So I would bet with the managers, and I think the managers are quite aware of this. Building the infrastructure, you're not just doing one product, you're doing a pipeline of products, and I think the managers are definitely looking at that pipeline. You're entering a global competition. It's a global race.
Now, this particular analyst was with a company called OSL. If you go over and look at their trading pairs, and we'll get into the Hong Kong markets right here. You got Bitcoin, ETH. Let me kind of zoom in on that for you guys. Bitcoin, ETH, the Hong Kong dollar, and then of course, guess what? XRP in there. So intriguing that we're going to see this. Listen, I always say put your money where your mouth is, because this is what's going to have to prove out for Hong Kong if they in fact do get a movement. But listen, we're going to know next week if it starts to take off like what we saw with BlackRock. Let me ask you a kind of a scenario that could play out with ETH trending down, Bitcoin trending down. These are great entry points. You know, if you look back in February 11th, very similar to what BlackRock was facing when the the Bitcoin ETFs launched. So could there be enough appetite, I guess, within the Asian markets to really possibly spin this differently next week and we get a surprise pump? Because you're still pointing downward right now in the markets.
Yeah, I've gotten texts from people close to me saying, Tim, should I buy now? I've had these in the last couple of days, and I tell them, like, listen, here's the deal. There's nothing that you can predict the future with 100% certainty. The whole concept of following all the analytics is to try to get the best idea possible.
Sure.
But the only thing you can guarantee is, well, I can guarantee you right now, if you buy today, you're going to get a cheaper Bitcoin or Ethereum or altcoin than you would have gotten a month ago. And so that makes it a better buy spot than a month ago. That's the only guarantees. While I see the charts showing downward action, anyone purchasing right now on these dips, I think these are great places to buy crypto because, as I said, while I'm short-term bearish, this is all a part of the normal bull market.
Yep.
We are so far from the top. It's not even funny. And I hope the Hong Kong industry buys the dip. I hope that we get some smart investors coming back in and buying these bottoms because that's going to be the best opportunity for them to change for their country. I mean, that's what we're kind of watching now, Paul, is we're so focused a lot of times on the U.S. And what the U.S. market's going to do. But there are other countries doing a lot worse than we are economically, and they're waking up to the concept that crypto is a path to stabilize their economies.
Yeah, and that's the thing is many people, even though Hong Kong, the market, quite a bit smaller in comparison to, say, the U.S. markets, clearly, but it could set a tremor in the rest of the world markets to say, hey, Hong Kong was able to pull off an ETF, let's do the same. We could see this starting to spin up in financial markets worldwide. One thing to watch here on Hashkey Exchange, which is going to be one of the leading exchanges out there within the Hong Kong market, I want you guys to recognize something. One is they have been pumping and talking about and focusing on Avalanche for quite some time. Avalanche had a nice little run. We started to see it trace back. It had a little bit of a correction this week and then has since pulled back again. When you look at the chart in terms of Avalanche, where do you see that as a possible entry point if you were saying, I don't own any Avalanche today, where do I buy in, Tim?
That's a good question right there. I'll share my screen. I love Avalanche, and this is going to be a token that I think does very well. It's a real world asset token, so it's got a long way to go to the upside because that's going to be one of the big storylines I think this bull market. This is a level that I called here when we were closer towards the top. I told our community, hey, keep an eye on back towards 32. Sure enough, we hit it. We actually wicked a little down below. But I think there's an outside chance we maybe get back down to 26 here on Avalanche. I'll show you guys kind of what I'm looking at here. We're already super, super close. And as I showed you, Bitcoin looks vulnerable to further downside. Ethereum looks vulnerable. A lot of altcoins look down. I'd be surprised It's possible. I'd be surprised, though, if Avalanche moves up while the rest of these coins go down. We're starting off here on the daily chart. Again, similar to what we saw with Ethereum and Bitcoin. We came back, we retested that breaker block, rejected on it just perfectly. We have these take profits starting off where? Right there around that $27, $26 range. There is an interesting order block and the more aggressive take profit down here at 21. Is that in the cards? Yes, I'd have to say it's in the cards, but I feel like if I get the opportunity to buy a $27 or $26 Avalanche again, that's too good of an opportunity to pass up. It's the more conservative take profit suggestion here on the sell order from Lux Algo. Take a look at the oscillators here. Again, middle points here. Stochastics RSI is high. We rejected on the 50. The MACD crossed bullish, and now it's sideways. And that money flow is just still negative with excessive sellers coming into the space. So this all leads me to believe I don't think that the dip here on Avalanche is over. I think we are going further to the downside. That's the daily chart. That could show you what the next couple of weeks could look like. If you're looking at the next couple of days, maybe you're saying, I have some money itching in my pocket. Where should I buy Avalanche next couple of days? Kind of double bottoming, like I said before, 32, maybe 29 area is going to be interesting to buy some more here. That's where we just were a couple of days ago. That's where I would keep an eye on if you do feel like it's time to DCA into Avalanche, but I want to wait for a good price. 32 to 30-ish area, I think could happen within the next couple of days, if not a week from now.
All right, so AVAX, possibility of some entry points for you guys if you guys are setting out there without any AVAX in your bags. One other one that we want to watch for in the same kind of scenario is Solana. Solana talking about releasing Agave, which is their next 1.18 testnet. This is basically trying to deal with this issue around congestion, which has been somewhat solved now. With Solana right now, and you and I talked about this before the show, you like this trending down a bit. What is your point of no return for Solana?
My point of no return for Solana.
If it hits here, this is bad.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Well, let's. Did I hit the? Yeah. Let's address the real bad. Real bad. I don't think it's going to get anywhere close to here, Paul. But I think when you start to lose 85, 87, this area right in here, maybe, kind of coming back here to 80-ish. If we're losing this on Solana, I might have some concern. This is nowhere close to where I think that the price will go. The only thing I'll say here, I'm going to have to refresh this, I do believe, because I haven't looked at this page in a couple of hours. So give me a second. This is liquidations chart. There we go. Let's go to Solana. And I'm going to have to go to a large time frame here. I think I'm going to have to go to 6 months. Let's try 6 months here. And this is where it's not really showing me there either. Maybe 3 months. Let me try 3 months here real quick. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So this chart, liquidations wise, is just showing traders where there's a heavy amount of liquidity. If we get to this level, we'll have mass liquidations. The only one showing up here on the 1 month chart, or 3 month chart, I do believe, is coming in down here towards 90. So you can get below there, get into the 80s, and that would just be traders taking advantage of a big fall on Solana, and they're getting some heavy liquidations, and then they're satisfied, and it's time for price to go up. So that's why I say, like, you start to lose 80, I think you're getting a little more extreme than that liquidation. With that said, though, I don't think we're going that far. I think I'd be surprised if we see 100 again. We do have a nice order block sitting right there. But you can see here on the daily chart, for example, I think we're coming back down into it again, but we have a big order block and a lot of take profit coming in. Again, right here on 120, I think is the good spot there. The only thing I would say, I think it's a weekly chart. Yeah, weekly chart does show take profit could come in a little closer to 110. And again, this one goes all the way down here to 76, but I don't think we need to go that far. I'm more conservative here, especially with the smart trail on Lux Algo kind of coming up to that 110 mark as well. That, to me, is the more realistic downward action for Solana. Solana's had so much FUD against it, and it is dropping in price, but I mean, this seems to just be a resilient coin. If I'm a betting man, I say I'm buying more Solana at 120 because I'm just not convinced that it'll go lower. If it does, I think it's going to be hard to get below 105, 100 area, and I'm going to be surprised if it gets there. But that's what we're seeing here on the charts with Solana. Yeah,
the 117 marker is the area, and then you look at that resistance around $100, which is what we've been looking at. The sentiment data, though, is pumping back down to around 120. This is one that I'm a little concerned with if we start to break that 130 range, which is what I've been watching for quite some time, is trying to re-enter even in my own positions for Solana. Hadera had some big news out this week. They wanted to provide a little bit of clarification surrounding Tuesday's announcements. I know a lot of people hit me out there on X about this, so this is it. This is basically a team that, in partnership with basically a tokenized platform that shares part of the BlackRock ICS U.S. Treasury Fund. So this is partly true, is that BlackRock is involved in some way, but it is a fund within BlackRock. So they kind of corrected the point. But Hadera took a crazy move. Now, did it correct, and what happens now with Hadera?
Yeah, this was a big talking point, I think, for a lot of people in crypto. We went back and forth on this with Investing Bros channel. The day the news broke and we thought that it really was that clean, BlackRock and HBAR partnered, I told my audience, I was like, listen, guys, I haven't done an official price prediction on this long-term just yet, but this news makes it go even higher in my book. And then we found out, well, it wasn't necessarily the full-blown truth. So it brought it back down to earth. I don't really like how some stuff was worded there, but at the end of the day, I don't think this is a death sentence for HBAR. I think HBAR is right back to being this kind of coin that we thought it was a couple of days ago. And if I share my chart, I know you have yours sharing right there, but I'll share mine as well. We're seeing Lux Algo here. If you guys go to mine, I don't know if we want to look at yours. We're going to look at mine.
No, we're going to flip over. Yep.
We're seeing the take profit on the 4-hour. We hit it. We came back down. Yep. There was another one of these breaker blocks. So yellow are bullish breaker blocks, pink are the bearish ones. I told our audience, even before we found out the bad news, I said, guys, we're going to pull back down these breaker blocks just to healthily correct. And what I got to give it credit for is when you turn all this noise off, like it or dislike it, this did not come back down and erase all the gains, right? So we got this great news. We were at 8.8 cents. We skyrocket up here to 18 cents. And then we've come back down to earth. We've kind of dealt with the reality of it, and we kind of came to a middle point. Well, when it's all said and done, this is still a bullish move. If everyone hated HBAR, if HBAR was this new fraud that could not be trusted, we would have come back down at least to 8 cents or lower. So you do have to give Hadera and the HBAR community some credit for saying, all right, was this as bullish as we thought originally? No, but we did net positive price action right here. And if we go over here, the daily chart, we're actually, haven't entered a sell order here just yet. I do think we're not really going to be moving too far bullish, but on that 4-hour chart, I'll go back here. There's still a breaker block down towards 10 cents. I think that's one I've seen a lot of people actually kind of discuss right now. I think that's going to be probably the realistic expectation. As I told you guys, altcoins look to be dipping in the next couple of days, next week or so. I would put 10 cents as the price to watch when it comes to price action for Hadera. If that gets lost, then of course we're talking about 8 cents again.
All right. This is, I don't know, I've been in and out of HBAR several times. I ended up doing a little trade on that one. So it was an interesting time of watching it, because when we saw the news and started to see some of the sentiment data coming in over the weekend, even our research team, I was trying to figure out what was going on. And of course, we got the news the next day, but interesting stuff. I'm going to go to a handful of gaming charts real quick. And for those of you guys following us, I'm going to jump over to Shrapnel real quick, just to, because I think many of you probably have looked at Shrapnel before, and it's not something we'll probably chart today, but I just wanted to go over to, just to give you guys a little bit of an insight. And I'm not saying that this is one to look at, but as you can see, if you are looking at Web3 gaming, Shrapnel has pretty much went to a new entry point down around 14 cents. So this is one that we're going to continue to kind of keep an eye on. Because Web3 gaming is one that we continue to watch a lot. Another one is Heroes of Mavia. This is the other one that has been actually performing really well. For many of you, I think a lot of people have kind of put up, maybe went back into Mavia if you were out of it for a bit, and then maybe had some pretty interesting games. But they did do something here, and that is they've gone into a new token allocation, which is going to see an 80% reduction in emissions. This happens through 2025, so you're going to see a pretty significant change here with Mavia as well. And then, of course, our sponsor, which is Wilder. This is a token I actually own. And Wilder World, if you guys haven't checked this out, I would go in and look at it. They've got a couple of new features here. The open world feature is rolling out. They also have a new feature coming in around their tournaments, which is going to be happening during, and if you didn't see it at some of the last events, but they're getting ready to do this over at Consensus, which is happening in Austin. So lots of new stuff with Wilder World. We'll be at Consensus in Austin. I'll probably be doing some pieces there. We might stop by and see the guys over on the Wilder booth for sure. But if you've been looking at, and by the way, we keep Wild in our CPI, and let me see if I can pull it up real quick. So this is kind of where we had identified Wild as way back here in October of 23. Nice movement up the chart, and of course currently trading around 79 cents. Tim, I want to jump back to you, and if you look at Web3 gaming, you saw 3 projects right there. Is there any Web3 project right now that you like today?
You know, I'm not a gamer so much, Paul, but I have been looking at some of them. What I got to give the whole gaming, the Web3 gaming community some credit for, last cycle, so we're going back to 2021, the biggest critique was just the games are so ugly. I mean, it just wasn't great.
Not anymore.
You could make,
have you
could make money, but
have
yeah.
you seen Star Atlas, Wilder World?
Yeah.
Both those are pretty sexy games, I would have to say.
The gaming community in Web3 has really stepped it up this cycle. So is the gaming sector my top sector moving forward? Not necessarily. I think real world assets, I still think there's room for a lot of AI tokens to do some cool things at Bitcoin layer 2s. But I think the gaming sector, I think some people sleep on it and act like this cycle's gonna not do very much. I think gaming tokens can do very well, even though I think, so they're looking really good. They're maybe not quite where Web 2 are, but few Web 2 games can you play to earn, right? A lot of those are just play to have fun. I think you're gonna see some people say, you know what? Let me make some, I'm good at gaming. Let me make some money. They've stepped up their game in the graphics. They've stepped up the user interface. There's a game that I've been playing with some friends here in Atlanta called Eternity. I think it's a newer project. It definitely has us competing with each other. And so I've liked kind of playing around with that one. I'm not a gamer though, so please don't take anything I say with a grain of salt. Or take it with a grain of salt because I'm not an expert on this field whatsoever.
We of course are big Web3 ecosystem lovers. So gaming is one of the sectors we do like for sure. By the way, guys, if you like these kind of videos where we bring Tim in, and we do this every Friday by mainly around breaking down a lot of altcoins, smash the like button right now. Let us know you love it, because that's one of the things. Also, make sure and participate in the poll. We'll do that towards the end, and then we'll get to some questions on the side. We may be able to pull up a handful of tokens as well. So drop some questions in over there, and we'll definitely get in on that. Nvidia has moved on a shopping spree. So 2 new company acquisitions happening. You look at these kinds of M&As that they're doing, all kind of AI oriented, and you look at, in general, what has happened with Nvidia, both on skyrocketing. If you look at that stock right now, Tim, do you think this is just now overbought and it's not really a great potential to jump into, or what is your opinion? Because we saw a lot of activity with Meta we'll talk about in a second.
Listen, when it comes to Nvidia and it comes to AI things, I wouldn't bet against it. Did we hit a new high recently and then correct? Yes, but so is the S&P 500. I mean, the S&P 500 it's like people keep trying to talk the death into the S&P 500 and it keeps going up.
It just won't.
Same thing with Nvidia. I mean, this is a token that I would make the observation, or not a token, but a stock that I would make the observation that it probably should have corrected further than it did. It's just so strong, and it continues to just move to the upside here. And you guys might have seen when I first got up here, 4 hour, we actually are under a bullish, the altcoin space saying sell, Nvidia is saying buy. We have an order block between us and the take profit right here at 901, but we have take profit at 924, and then another order block and the top of our price prediction with the red reversal cloud coming back in towards that high of 965. You take further looks to the outside here. There is technically still a call to the downside, but this is something that I think is still just getting going. Nvidia has a long way to go to the upside. I don't know if I've done a price prediction long term for it, but I think that especially as the AI world in crypto continues to grow, that Nvidia should as well. And in fact, you might make the question, does Nvidia grow fast and kind of lead the AI space to keep going in the crypto world? Things like Render and Near and
exactly.
And,
I was going to ask you, what do you think about that? So if you look at Render, because many people would say, okay, well, Render is kind of our cloud compute token. And there's a handful of others. I mean, people like Filecoin. There's many out there that IONET, if you're, and we've had the IONET guys on before, but not necessarily in play yet. But when you look at Render, definitely a project that we've been tracking for quite some time, a couple of years, looking at this as an upward trend, but it has been struggling here recently. Do you think Nvidia, how would you play this, Nvidia or Render? If you were brand new coming in right now?
I don't get asked that often about Nvidia versus Render. Most people ask about Near versus Render.
Okay.
But here's what I'll say. I'll start with the Near versus Render. Near is still higher, and in fact, if you go over to CoinMarketCap, I believe Near. Oh, we can just do this actually. CoinMarketCap has a cool feat. Oh, come on now. It froze up. There we go. I can just look at the AI coins right here. Yeah. And I have it on set up to see 90 days and everything else. So in the last 90 days, Near's actually performed better than Render. That wasn't the case a couple of months ago. I think Render was definitely climbing up. But right now, people are going to look at this and say Near. But I've made a hot take on our channel, Investing Bros. I think Render at some point during this bull market surpasses Near Protocol to become the #1 AI token in market cap. And one of the reasons why is because of their relationship with Nvidia. Nvidia does have a relationship with Render. I think those two are somewhat tied together. So this takes to the question you asked, which do you think maybe has more money? Is it Nvidia or Render? In fact, like, who can make more money if you invest right now, Render or Nvidia? Well, let's just take a look at something real quick, because this is amazing for a stock. This is Nvidia. Since October of 2022, Nvidia peaked out at its high up almost 800%. That's phenomenal. But you got to look at that with perspective, because in the same time that we saw that happen for Nvidia, we saw Render do 3,300. So almost triple or more than triple what we saw with Nvidia. And the reason for that is because Nvidia is sitting here today at a $2.2 trillion market cap versus Render only $3.1 billion. So if the question is which market cap will gain more money, probably Nvidia. But which one will gain more X's? Or if you're saying, if I had $1,000 to invest in either Nvidia or Render, which one will make more money for me? I think it's a pretty easy answer to say Render at this point.
So with that being the case, you look at the Render token. I'm going to just pull this up quickly. I was on it a little bit. It has been, obviously over the past little bit, we're on the 4 hour right now, kind of sideways action for a while. And remember, this thing clipped up to where we saw this right here. Yeah, it was back in March. Pulled up almost to 1350 and has retraced back down to 820. Do you think this is a good buy right now, Tim?
Yeah, let me take a look at that one. We look at Render every now and then. I did some TA on this yesterday. We had a Q&A section. I told everybody, hey, the first level defense is going to be this rising dotted yellow line that we kind of, even though we have wicks below it, if I were to look at the daily chart, we have not closed a candle beneath that yellow line since all the way back when we passed it in February. So that's going to be the first level of defense here. But I do believe Lux Algo is definitely saying, hey, probably coming back down again. Double bottom at that small position we had a couple days ago back here at like $7. There's a big order block, the green cloud and the more aggressive take profit signal coming in down here around $6. So that's definitely something that I'm watching here. Let's see, 4 hour chart. 4 hour chart actually is under 4 hour chart was under a buy, but that was so long ago when we moved to the downside. I'm going to kind of ignore that and say if we start to bounce back, I'm not going to be surprised if we reject on the smart trail on the order block at 881. I think we are looking, again, just like the rest of the space, at more downward movement here. Not best case scenario, but realistic scenario, $7 is in play. That's a good buy. And then you could see 610, 613, somewhere in that area in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah. Meta was another topic this week after earnings. They performed above expectations. And even though they performed above expectations, if you kind of look about what happened in their last earnings when they performed above expectations, skyrockets. But this time, the stock actually adjusted downward. With that being the case, here's Cathie Wood taking and making an entry both on Meta and again after earnings. She's back in on Meta. So selling a little bit of Bitcoin and moving in a little bit more aggressively on Meta. So what does Cathie Wood know maybe that is happening out there around this? Because this is interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how all the TikTok news plays out, because obviously that's going to have a big deal. I mean,
very bullish. Yeah, bullish for Meta.
Yeah, that's and the other thing is this is very small and nothing to worry about for the new highs. But take a look at what we did here a couple of days ago, where we closed at 494 here on Meta. We opened up the next day way down here at 421, which means there's a massive gap in there. We do have a breaker block here, but the fact that this is a gap. This is going to get filled. So I'm bullish on Meta. The fact that we dipped down this low and they are getting good numbers, I think Meta is still a good buy right now. If you guys can see here, it dropped below the take profit even. It's on green support. There's just not a lot of reasoning to think that Meta will go lower at this point. There's a lot of reason to think it'll go up. I mean, think about it. Meta had good numbers and went down. Tesla had bad numbers, went up. I think we had a little bit of a crazy reaction to those numbers. It might flip. We might see Tesla start to correct now, and Meta actually start to go back to the upside in the next couple of days. It's kind of like a fake out to all the investors.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to keep an eye on. Well, and when you look at the Mag 7, no longer the Mag 7, Tesla's kind of been thrown out to the cold on that right now. But hey, we'll see how many of these kind of perform. Unity is another one that I watch. The interesting thing here with Unity, I was looking at their Q4 earnings, their Q1 earnings of 2023, and then their Q2 earnings. I mean, over time, last year was just a skyrocket for these guys in terms of earnings. The question will be, how do they perform this year? We'll see their earnings coming in soon, coming up. So that'll be a good one. Make sure, by the way, guys, smash the like button if you like these kinds. Tim and I will answer a handful of questions, but I want to jump over to the poll real quick and take a look at what we have on this one. What altcoin will Hong Kong convert to ETF first? Looks like XRP. Everybody likes XRP over the Avalanche token. Interesting, because Avalanche is very interesting. What do you think? Hong Kong.
I haven't really gotten to study too much about Hong Kong's thoughts on what to turn an ETF. I know in the U.S. there's a wide thought, the exception of Gary Gensler, who's going to fight this, that Ethereum's going to become an ETF, and then there's people asking, what's the next one? And XRP's in that category, and people have thrown Chainlink into that category. But ultimately, people have said that the difference between Bitcoin and Ethereum getting ETFs compared to Ethereum to the next, like number 3, is way bigger than the gap between Bitcoin and Ethereum. So when it comes to Hong Kong, I don't know if they see it very differently. XRP to me makes the most sense there. But yeah, I mean, I haven't even heard rumors of Avalanche ETFs to this point. So that poll was actually the first time I saw that. I would guess XRP. I think the community got it right. XRP is probably the most likely there. How well it does, I think how well it does though is to be seen. I am not an XRP hater. I think that I think Ripple is a great company. I think that they're going to do things, but there's just some stuff that with them talking about going public. I know they backed off for now, but there's still that rumor in the future. They're going to go public. They're working on creating a stable coin that effectively does a lot of the job of what XRP does. I do have questions about how high XRP goes. I think $6 to $10 range is realistic expectation for XRP, and obviously an ETF would help that as well. But for anyone who's investing in XRP, hey, I think there's still money to be made here, but don't just close your eyes and say, well, it's a great project, so it has to make a lot of money. There are things that suppress great products from getting a high dollar amount per coin or per stock. Really continue your research. If you're convicted that you're going to see $30 on XRP, keep it. Hold it till $30. But I've kind of gotten to the camp where I'm like, I think I'm going to sell my XRP. I'm going to start looking around the $7-ish, $8 range and saying, all right, what is left in this bull market?
There you go. I like it. All right, you heard the sell point for XRP here. Let's get to a couple of questions here. Sahil says, hey, Paul, have you heard about Proppy? Also, anything new on Ando? We're going to do a token analysis on Ando. One thing I will tell you about Proppy is we have their CEO coming on. I think next week she's coming on. Proppy, if you guys haven't checked out that token, first of all, I think you can get it on Coinbase. But it's a very interesting real estate play. So check it out. It's one we're going to dive in a lot deeper. So definitely. What if the bear market is back? Hadi says, what if the bear market is back? Boy, that was a short bull run.
I would tell people if you weren't here, because my first purchase in crypto, I don't know what the official name is, but I've kind of deemed myself a COVID investor. You know, I took those checks that Uncle Sam gave all of us, and I invested in crypto for the first time. I heard about it, should have invested way back in 2013, but 2020 was my first investment. But that doesn't stop you from looking at history. So if you look at history, let's just talk about the cycle before COVID. Again, I'm going to ignore the Black Swan event right here, but Bitcoin, the halving event happens right in here on May 11th, but Bitcoin has this massive rally over 350%, and everyone's so excited. It's all so bullish. We didn't hit new highs, but we did really well. And then guess what, guys? Bitcoin would go on to fall 50, even before COVID, 54% to the downside before COVID. I don't think we're going to drop 54%. That's not my prediction here. But my point is, do we not think there are people in this area thinking, we didn't hit new all-time high. Bitcoin's done. It's bear market again. And in reality, it's just a lower low, or a higher low, higher than the bear market bottom. And we still had our big bull market, despite the fact that institutions suppressed it. What we're looking at right now, again, it's all about perspective. Look at that chart and look at this chart. Yeah. When you look at it from this weekly perspective, you're like, are we even pulling back? We're just kind of trading sideways. Yeah. So to say, is this the bear market, I think is too narrow and too zoomed in a view to get a healthy perspective. Zoom out. I've been saying this on Investing Bros. Before you freak out, zoom out. And that goes for being both too bullish and too bearish. It'd be a good
t-shirt, man. Investing Bro t-shirt right there. Before you freak out, zoom out. Hey, I got one guy coming in at $50 XRP after the lawsuit ends, so kudos to him. He's going to be one that's going for the gold here. Any opinion on Polkadot? Yeah. Any opinion on Polkadot? How do you like Dot?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, good project, always been around. Will they come back?
Yeah. I like Dot. I do think, there were moments there where people were kind of counting it out, but it's the number one interoperability, and crypto needs strong interoperability. Made a video the other day. I gave a price prediction. You can check out my reasoning for it on my channel, Investing Bros, but I gave a price prediction. The range is wide, between $80 to $161. I said, based off of what I'm realistically expecting, $100. Right. I think $100 is a good level for Dot. And that means, we're currently sitting at 683. Let's say you buy right now. I think, again, just like the rest of the alts I've talked about, I think it's going lower. But let's just say you buy right now, you're still looking at a 14x if we hit that $100 range. Man, so not a bad investment whatsoever. I think I'm still bullish on Polkadot.
Interesting. Last point here. Keep in mind, Hong Kong has a big chunk of the wealth in terms of billionaires. So that's still kind of the sleeping giant right now, is Asia, how it's going to respond to these ETFs. Hey, listen, guys, we're going to know next week, and we'll get a chance to report all that to you for sure. Of course, if you guys are not checking out Tim's channel, go over to Investing Bros. It's a great place to kind of find out the rest of what he's doing. Let me see if I can pull up Investing Bros here and bring it. Investing Bros. Yeah, there we are.
There we go. With the Z.
And I like it right there with the Z. Perfect. All right, there it is. Hey, you guys have clipped over 14.5. Your channel's growing. I like this.
Yeah, we have grown. I think we have like 4,000 new subs in the last month. Yeah, when we hit that 10,000 mark, it just has gone crazy. It's our community is fantastic. Getting to do collaborations with amazing communities like yours and some others that I've been doing partnerships with. The crypto people are hungry. People are hungry for crypto education.
Man. No doubt. Education is the key here right now. And guess what, guys? If you're not hitting the like button on these videos, whether you watch Tim's channel, our channel, get in and start engaging, because this is going to help not only the shows, it helps other people kind of discover crypto for the first time, just getting those out there in the algorithm. So it's the best place to do it. Tim, thanks again.
And I tell people, I was going to say, I tell people all the time, Paul, here's the other thing is, you're going to find influencers that you agree with and disagree with.
Sure.
But ultimately, I'm a big proponent against tribalism in crypto. I really hate when people are one coin maxis, because the concept of crypto is decentralized currency to get away from fiat. And we fight so much with ourselves when the real enemy is the normalized centralized authority fiat currencies. And then also, we're at war right now. I think it's lightening up a little bit, but if you don't think that the crypto world is at war with the mainstream medias, the Googles, there's a suppression that happens. So I tell people, hey, even if you disagree with someone's opinion, if they're crypto someone, smash the like, hit subscribe to show Google, to show YouTube, to show the mainstream media.
Yep.
We stand together. We are here all together. Don't let someone just saying something you disagree with or choose a different coin than you like discourage you from supporting them, because we're on the same team. We want to see the world become a better place financially.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I think that's what a lot of people, unfortunately, it's like anything out there. You do get those tribal natures around this, whether it's politics, investing, pretty much anything, even in music. I mean, you have that kind of fan base that's kind of a little bit crazy. But hey, that's the good point. I think is you do have to kind of walk the walk if you guys are trying to get into crypto. Is follow the right people and support them. Tim, hey, it was good seeing you, man. I'll have you on in maybe next week or the following. So we'll have you back. But thanks again for stopping in.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. All right, you guys are tuned in, maybe over on the podcast side of things. Man, you just missed a whole ton of charts. So get over here to the YouTube channel, subscribe right here, get in on the Diamond Circle. It's our connected community. Connection is protection, as you guys know out there who's listening. You know what I'm saying. And of course, if you're not following me on X, it's @PaulBaron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.